If you're in nursing school, here's the thing nobody warned you about. The hardest class you take is not pharmacology, it's the phone. I'm William Parker. I'm a family nurse practitioner, and before that license, I was an RN for 16 years. When I needed a pediatric preceptor, I called 53 clinics before I found one, and the very first call refused me before I finished my second sentence. So this video answers one question. When every clinic says no, how do you land a preceptor without losing your semester or your sanity? All right, let's start with timing. I began the search 2 months before my rotation started, and I barely made it. 2 months is a scramble, not a plan. So give yourself far more runway than I did. And check your program's deadline now, because every school runs this differently, and some want paperwork finalized before the full term ahead. Quick recap. If you missed video 1, I called 53 clinics to find one pediatric preceptor. And the very first one told me flatly, we don't take students, without even passing me off to the office manager. That call taught me the most useful sentence in this video. The front desk is not the decision maker. Their job is to protect the provider's schedule, and no is the safest word available because it costs them nothing and ends the call. So when the front desk says no, you have not been rejected, you have been screened. Now, before you make a single call, build the list. Students go wrong here by finding 3 promising clinics, collecting 3 refusals, and deciding the whole thing is impossible. You are running a numbers game. So you need enough names that any one no does not matter. Here's where the names come from. Start with alumni of your program, because somebody precepted them and might work again with coworkers who finished NP school, because working nurses know other working nurses. Then check with your own primary care provider when you can simply just ask. After that, try your state's NP association, which often keeps lists or runs forums. Search LinkedIn for NPs by specialty and city, and ask your clinic coordinator for the program's past placements. If your list has 10 names, every refusal feels like a crisis. If it has 50, the refusal is just Tuesday. Build a long list first. I put together a simple call tracker for this exact list. Clinic name, contact, date collected, outcome, all in one place, so nothing falls through the crack. Link is in the description if you'd rather not build your own from scratch. So if you have the list, now fix the ask, because most students call a stranger and request a vague favor. Hi, I'm a student. Do you take students? That call fails almost every time. Instead, do 4 things. First, ask the office manager or the provider by name, because the front desk will say no. Second, keep your pitch under 1 minute. Third, exactly what you need. The specialty, the dates, the hours. My program required 160 clinical hours per rotation, and a number that precise tells them you are organized. Fourth, and almost nobody does this, say what you are not asking for. That last one matters because the real objection behind most refusals is paperwork. Contracts, school agreements, and evaluation forms nobody wants to handle for a stranger. So name it up front. My school handles the agreement, and I complete every form. And honestly, the preceptor's real burden is tiny. They need to sign 1 paper at the end confirming you completed your required hours, and sometimes they take a call for your instructor that runs about 5 minutes or less. That's the whole job. Half the ejection disappears before they can raise it. Quick pause before the last 3 points. This channel exists for working nurses in this exact grind. So tell me in the comments where your search is stuck. The calls, the paperwork, or the money. I read everything, and your comments decide what I make next. Here's the point that got me placed, and it's the one students resist most. Ask for help publicly. It was not even me who asked. It was my mother posting on Facebook asking if anybody knew a pediatrician who could take her son for clinicals. And the person who answered was my senior prom date from 20 years earlier, who was a friend with a pediatrician's daughter. The pediatrician's clinic was the same building that refused me on my first call. The search had come full circle. I could have dialed for another year and never found that path because it did not run through my contacts. It ran through my mother's, then through the person who answered her post. Your network is bigger than your contact list, and the only way to reach that second ring is to ask where people can see. Post the specialty, the city, the dates. Yes, it feels embarrassing, but it does. Now a warning about the yes, because not every yes is a good one. Several clinics willing to take me were 200 miles away. That is not a commute. That's a hotel room every week, plus gas, plus meals for an entire rotation. For me, when I calculated it, that would come out to about $542 per week, and 12 weeks of that is roughly $6,500 for one rotation, on top of tuition while I was still working as a nurse. So before you accept, decide two numbers. Keep your real radius and your real budget. Do that math before you say yes, because once you accept, the placement is on your schedule and the costs are locked in. A rotation you cannot afford to drive to is not a placement. It's a second rent payment with a badge. Sometimes the distant yes is still worth it, but that should be a decision you calculate, not one that happens to you. Finally, let's talk about paid preceptor matching services, because if your search stalls, you will be tempted, and I want to be fair. They are a real option, not a scam by default. They currently run anywhere from $1,000 to $3,750 per clinical rotation. And for a working nurse staring down a delayed graduation, paying to protect a semester can genuinely be a rational move. But check three things before your card comes out. First, will your program accept the placement? Some schools refuse paid matches outright. That's an expensive way to find out. Second, is the site in your state and inside the radius you set? A match 4 hours away solves nothing. Third, read the refund terms line by line, because you need to know exactly what you're guaranteed if the preceptor backs out mid-rotation. A matching service buys you time, not a guarantee. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The preceptor search is unpaid work, but it's also the first real test of the skills you will use as an NP. Persistence, negotiation, asking for help without shame. Passing that test is worth something. Once the preceptor is handled, the next question is money, because NP programs vary wildly in what they cost, and the sticker price is only part of it. That is the next video, a straight breakdown of what NP programs really cost. If you are a working nurse trying to get through this without wrecking your finances or your life, subscribe so it shows up for you, and I will see you there.